the back cover of your comic. All right. The back cover. I know we all know, and we've all heard the expression, people judge a book by its cover. But the truth is, at least for me, I judge a book by its back cover. All right. Or at least in some ways I do. And the back cover definitely is a topic that gets a lot less coverage than your sexy front cover. And that's for good reason. I mean, your front cover, that's going to be the main thing that will sell your book for you. But the truth is, especially when you're talking about conventions, or especially when you're talking about on the shelves, if you're trying to get your book to sell on the shelves, your back cover is one of the most valuable sales tools that you can be using. All right. And so I want to just jump in, talk about something that I haven't talked about in a while. And this is nuts and bolts, putting together a quality book. If you are someone that likes getting tips for making the most out of the comics that you put out into the world, I do want to make sure that you know that I do have a new free strategy guide for comic book creators that's all about specifically 7 strategies. Actually 9 strategies for 2019 that comic creators are using to get their projects funded over on Kickstarter. But a lot of these strategies can be extended to other sales channels as well. You can get that over at comicslaunch.com/funded. If anyone has an opportunity to put that link in the chat, that would be great. But what I would like to do now is I want to just jump in, and I'm going to show you 5 things that you can put on the back cover of your comic book that will help make it a better and easier book to sell, and that will add value to your book as opposed to taking it away. Now, before I do that, though, I do want to just give you one thing that I would definitely not put on the back cover of your comic book. And this might hurt, especially to a lot of those indie guys out of there. But one thing that I do not recommend you do is slap a big fat ad for your print-on-demand printer on the back cover of your comic. Now, truth be told, I did this in the early days. I did it in the early days, but I regret it. Now, why do creators do this? Why do so many creators do it? Because it's cheaper. And Kablam, they're happy to throw you like a 20% discount to throw a big ad of theirs on the back of their comic. But I'll tell you what, when you're doing that, you're saving pennies and potentially costing you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in sales down the line, because you're taking away one of the best sales tools in your arsenal, and that is your back cover. All right, so here's what here are the 5 things that I would tell you to put on your back cover. And some of these are, this is not going to be rocket science here, but I walk up and down Artist Alley and I see a lot of creators that their back cover is an afterthought. All right. So the easiest thing that you can put on, which I really do not see enough, is you can just put your synopsis. You'll see right here, the back cover here. And why this is so easy is because this is something you probably already have. If you funded your project on Kickstarter, you had to put together a pithy title, or you had to put together like a pithy description of it. If you submitted your book to Diamond, you have to give it a solicit. And so for Wailing Blade, which is out actually next week in comic shops, the first thing we have on the back cover is just the same basic solicit that we sent to Diamond. So it says, when his father is sentenced to death at the hands of the legendary Headtaker, bandit Prince Tychon must find a way to save himself or to fall to the fearsome Wailing Blade. Get ready for brutal, bloody fantasy in a dark future age, right? So very simple. Someone at a convention or someone at a comic book shop, what are they going to do? They're going to pick up this book. They might flip through, see some of the awesome art that Joe Mulvey has, and then look at the back cover. And on the back cover, maybe they're going to want to know what this is about, and we give it to them right there. So that's a very, very simple and easy thing you can put on the back cover of your comics. I would love to, and if any of you in the chat, let me know, like, what's on the back cover of your comics? What are you thinking about putting on the back cover of your comics? And, what have you seen that's worked for you? What have you seen that doesn't work for you? I'd love to hear that and have a conversation, because I know there's a bunch of great comic creators that are hanging out and in this world, and we'll be watching this video either now or on the replay. All right. So that's the first thing. Your synopsis, your blurb, that's like the easiest thing to put on the back cover. Now, slightly more difficult thing, but not difficult at all, that I also recommend doing, and this is what we did with volume 1 of Sync, is we just had pull quotes of either creators or websites that reviewed Sync, reviewed it favorably, and we just basically included the one of the best lines from the quote, the person, or and then the site or what that person is known for. So, for example, this is the second printing of Sync #1. We have a quote from Dirk Manning of Nightmare World fame. Shout out to Dirk. But he said, very few comics scare me these days. Sync terrified me repeatedly. Right? Great quote. Right? Great pull quote. We've got another one from Steve Orlando, one from Joe Eisma, one from James Ferguson of Horror Talk, and Michael Nunnally from Big Glasgow Comic Page. So this sometimes trips people up because they're like, hey, if I don't have like the book hasn't come out yet, if nobody's read it, how am I supposed to get these pull quotes before the book even comes out? So 2 things. 1, you should have people be reading your book before it hits the stands. You should have a group and start building a group of either creator peers, creators that you look up to, that you're connected with, or reviewers that are favorable to you. And these things, no one is born, comes out of the womb with these things. You have to actually go out there and build these and do it one relationship at a time. But you should have a go-to brain trust of people that you can put your book in front of and then get some of this stuff from. And it will take time, especially as you're started, but all of these things started with relationships. So start building those relationships. Then the other thing is, especially if you're talking about later issues in the series, it's okay to use a pull quote that talks about either previous work that you've done, or that talks about the series in general, or an earlier issue of the series, and you can put that on the next issue. That's fine. Nobody's going to really call on you and say, "Oh, that was a quote from issue 2," but you're putting it on issue 4, like bad you. No, I mean, they're talking about the book. They're talking about you. They're talking about their writing. A lot of times, authors will use praise from their last book to help promote their next book. That's all's fair in love and promotion. All right. So that's one thing. And notice, I'm giving you these ideas, these things to put on the back covers of your book, but you can mix and match these, and you don't necessarily need to your book doesn't need to have all of them, right? So you'll see on this on Wailing Blade, we have both the synopsis at the top, and then we also included with some, we called out sort of the keywords right here. But we've got a quote from Derek Robinson of Transmet and The Boys. We've got a quote from Mike Morrissey from Wasted Space. We've got a quote from Jim Zub from Avengers, and a little trick that I picked up this trick from Jim Zub, who picked it up from Mark Miller. Is basically like, short quotes and then bold and change the color of like the keyword or the key idea that you want to hammer home. So if you read this really quick, like the things that jump out to me is great art, rip roaring, bloody, and sharp. Okay, so all keywords that are good to hit home. Okay, so that's the second thing is pull quotes from other people. Third thing is compelling icons or imagery. So one of the things that we tried to build up with Sync is just this icon of the blue van, right? And get people talking about the blue vans and what's in the blue van and all of that. And so on the first volume of Sync, we actually put blue vans on the back of every single back cover. All right. Now for volume 2, we switched it up a little bit and decided to have for each issue have a different icon that is related to content in the book. So every issue of Sync Volume 2 has the title of the story, has the brief synopsis, and then has an icon related to the content inside the story. All right. So that's sort of another way to sort of build anticipation for diving in. So for Wailing Blade, we've got the iconic imagery here of the Wailing Blade itself, because that's something that we're really trying to hit home. All right. So that's the third thing, compelling icon or imagery from your series. And again, repetition can be very helpful here. Now, the fourth one, and this is one that I have something that I've found to be the most effective at conventions, is to have a pitch device built into your back cover. All right, a pitch device built in your back cover. And finding out the way to sort of speak to this or a way to explain this is a little difficult for me. But I mean by a pitch device is the Red 10's a superhero murder mystery that I wrote with Cesar Feliciano, covers by CP Wilson. And at conventions, I pitch this as, this is basically how I would kill off the Justice League if DC were ever crazy enough to let me. It's a superhero murder mystery. And in each issue, one by one, each character on this super team is eliminated. And as the series goes on, you start to realize that one of the ones left may be behind it all. Now, that part of the pitch where I actually put the book in front of people and turn it over and start pointing to characters getting X'd out, that draws people in like nothing else I've seen. It's been one of the most easiest hand sell books that I've ever had at conventions, even for the longest time. And it's because I'm using the entire book in my pitch process. So that's that. And then the fifth thing is a link to your website. That's really all you need to do. We put this link to the website, but this actually, if you actually went to that link, or if you actually went to this link, it's actually a self-contained website. So if you go to sync.comicstribe.com, which we put on the back of every issue of Sync, it actually goes to a website where you can jump in, get on our email list, get some free comics sent your way, and now you're in our ecosystem. And so we're using our comics that go out at conventions, that go out in the direct market. We're using that to build our fan base, build our email list as well, by including a link to our website right on there as well. So hope that helps. I hope to hear some more about some of the ideas that you might have about what you're putting on the back of your covers. I've got some good ideas from Rich Douek. Yes, we did have to neg Rich. Rich is the writer of Wailing Blade and also of Road of Bones, which hit comic shelves yesterday and is the talk of the town. So it's going to be very hard to turn down Rich's demands for pantsless Joe Mulvey on every back issue of Wailing Blade. Who knows? Maybe we'll save that if the orders drop for issue 4. Maybe we'll do that for Sweeps Week to really get the stuff up and running. But in the meantime, this is what we're going to go with. And Rich actually put together the composition of this back cover and wrote the copy for those synopses here. And so kudos to Mr. Douek for getting that done. All right. Hope everybody got some value from this. Again, let's continue the conversation. I'd love to hear what it is that you're putting on the back covers of your comics and how they're making things work for you. Again, keep your eye out for Wailing Blade. It releases in comic shops worldwide on May 29th. That's a week from yesterday. So walk, don't run to your local comic shops and get a copy of this, or you could just sit at home and get it from shop.comicstribe.com. It's up to you. But yeah, I hope this helps. I'm a geek for back cover concepts. And so if you've seen a cool back cover, if you've seen something cool that I haven't thought about or talked about in this video, definitely share some images, share some links, share some ideas in the comments and let me know. Again, if you would like to learn some more strategies, if you got value from this, you want to see some more strategies that are working for creators like us, go grab that Comics Launch Funded guide over at comicslaunch.com/funded and get some inspiration from other creators that are doing cool stuff in the world of comics, crowdfunding, Kickstarter, etc. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see what you launch next.